That was the most topic. But I don't have really good stuff. Yeah, stuck out. It's good. I mean, it's not like having. Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah. All right, before we get going, again, if you have not submitted a proposal topic for tomorrow, for next year, right. All right, if you have not submitted a proposed topic for next year, please feel free to do that now. Before I move the screen, you can submit as many of you as you like. You can also volunteer to author for as many as you would like. So that is all an option for you. And then later on today, we'll have a straw poll vote, and the ones that have kind of the most support from this room, we'll go from there. So take a moment, select the QR code, put in some topics. All right. And if you need a computer to do that, you can scan the QR code, email it to yourself, and then you can fill it on the computer. I'll wait until we don't see the phones. All right. So before we get going, I do want to thank the wording committee again for their great work yesterday. All right, so now everything becomes very official here. So there's a very strict process we're going to be following for the rest of the day. So what we're going to do here in a moment is we're going to do a roll call of all delegates. If you are not a listed state delegate, this is the time where your time to communicate is with your delegate during the caucusing period. We're going to review each resolution as passed yesterday by the wording committee. The wording committee chair will entertain any amendments to any of the resolutions. This is a heads up that is rare at this point. The topic resolution is open for amendment. You'll have a 10-minute time limit to address those, and only the voting delegates may offer an amendment. Everybody good on those? Great. So we're going to do a roll call for the states. I'm going to say the state name. If you are the voting delegate, please say very loudly that you are here. Arkansas. Here. California. Here. Colorado. Here. DC. Here. Georgia. Here. Illinois. Here. Kansas. Here. Maryland. Here. Massachusetts. Here. Michigan. Here. Minnesota. Here. Mississippi. Here. Missouri. Here. New Jersey. Here. New York. Here. Oklahoma. Here. Oregon. Here. Pennsylvania. Here. Texas. Here. Washington State. Here. Wisconsin. Here. Wyoming. Okay. National Urban Debate League. Here. NCFL. Here. NDCA. Here. NSDA. Here. All right. So we should have 22 voting delegates. Is there a state that is here that did not call off? Okay, so you 22 will be the ones that will be voting when we get to the voting section. All right, here we go. All right, aging in America. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially increase its healthcare services for persons 65 years of age or older in the United States. Is there an amendment amongst voting delegates? Agricultural subsidies. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially decrease its domestic agricultural subsidies. Amendments. Climate change. The United States federal government should substantially increase its restrictions on greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. The United States federal government should substantially increase its regulation of the internet in one or more of the following: data privacy, disinformation, and social media? Cryptocurrency regulation. The United States federal government should substantially increase regulations on the use and exchange of cryptocurrencies and or non-fungible tokens in the United States. Economic inequality. The United States federal government should substantially increase fiscal redistribution in the United States by adopting a federal jobs guarantee, expanding Social Security, and or providing a basic income. Elections, democracy reform. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially strengthen its regulation of elections in the United States.
Elections rather than
Okay, so
sometimes we edit titles.
okay, well, we have
It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so that does qualify. We need a second. There a second?
I'll second.
All right, well, then now we're at the problem.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion and a second.
You want to support your motion or tell us why you made it?
The original paper was more democracy reform. Now we've gone down to pretty much elections. So it just more, it's easier.
Any other discussion? Yes.
Is the topic with it?
I would be perfect. Electoral reform would work. If you amend your amendment to
Yeah,
electoral reform,
Electoral reform.
and you're good for a second.
There's a second.
Is there any other discussion on this amendment? All right, seeing as how there is none, I guess we can move into voting. All those in favor of amending the title of the topic to electoral reform?
It's just delegates, yes.
What is it, just delegates?
Just delegates.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's enough. They passed.
Electoral reform it is. Thank you. Israeli-Palestine conflict resolved. The United States federal government should substantially increase its diplomatic and or economic engagement toward the Palestinian National Authority and the State of Israel. Latin America. The United States federal government should substantially increase its democracy promotion and or military operations in one or more of the following: plural national state of Bolivia, Republic of Colombia, Republic of El Salvador, Republic of Guatemala, Republic of Honduras. Managing and protecting federal lands. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially increase its conservation and or preservation of existing federal lands. South Asia, the United States federal government should substantially increase its defense cooperation with one or more South Asian countries. Medical industry. Resolved, the United States federal government should substantially increase its regulations on drug and medical device approval and or pricing. Great. At this time, what we'll do now is we'll invite every topic author who has authored a topic that's on this list to come up in order. This is the rules for this part. Each topic selection author is given 2 minutes to advocate for their topic area they submit. A caucus period will allow for all attendees and voting delegates to discuss the topics. Following the 10-minute caucus period, voting by the delegates will commence. All right, so topic authors, are we ready? Okay, Advocacy for Aging in America.
I truly believe that the policy debate topic actually drives real world policy. It's been shown time and time again in the past that lots of things the high schoolers discuss now become legislation later. This is why this is very important. We have a rapidly aging society, which is a good thing. But there's things that need to be done and need to be discussed at the highest levels of power. And having us start with it now in policy debate in high school is a good first step. I know that not a lot of people think about the aging in people aging in society. This is a problem that not a problem, that there are issues that need to be taken care of with this. And I truly feel like there's really good debate to be had on this topic, and it should be something that we do discuss.
Agricultural subsidies.
Not voting for ag would be a serious mistake. First, it's not too similar to the water topic, which I think has been one of the principal objections this weekend. The vast majority of people did not read affirmatives related to CAFO discharge, and at that, subsidies were questionably topical. There's a great core dissent with the food price PA. There's different critical ground than last year. There's really interesting literature that wouldn't apply to last year's water topic about the USDA, as well as some other arguments. It also wasn't the main point of Clash on Water, and privatization wasn't a neg argument on water, which it would be on this topic. The resolutional wording chosen is simple, elegant, and grounded in the literature. This topic will help to avoid a year of messy debate over things that we don't really understand. Agricultural subsidies is relevant and accessible. When students buy food, they're voting on what kind of food system they want. It's uniquely accessible because students and their families think about food choices. For rural students, there's an obvious connection to farming. For urban ones, there's connections to food deserts, subsidies being taken from urban areas and redistributed to rural ones, and the obesity epidemic. The gross and ew factor of learning about factory farms will keep students really engaged. I'm really happy with the division of ground on this topic. Students who favor critical arguments can draw on a wealth of literature that analyzes the racist history of farming, xenophobia, sharecropping, and immigration, as well as greater access to identity arguments than most of the topics under consideration this weekend. For disadvantages, there's a great core topic to that in the form of the food price DA, as well as many other DAs related to subsidies, the economy, and international relations, and counter plans that offer a variety of options, such as offsets, caps, new subsidies, and many others. Thank you for your attention and your support this weekend. I'm confident that ag would be a terrific and one of the utterly best topics under consideration this weekend.
Climate change.
So this is my first time going through this process, and one of the things that I think I didn't really understand at the beginning was the particular time that we would talk about the debatability of each of these topics. Like, I think we spent a lot of time going through wording, and that was in the back of our mind at that time. But as we're thinking about these topics today, the thing that I'm thinking about most is kind of what would debates look like. So I think that climate change, in addition to some other topics, has the advantage of first being a significant change in the status quo, mandating a large change. That's both because the federal government is largely approaching climate from an incentive-based perspective, not a restriction-based perspective, and because the Supreme Court is rolling back all executive attempts to restrict emissions. So it would be a forced large change in the status quo. The second thing that I think we need to think about for most of these topics is, if it's a domestic topic, can it meet the state's counterplan? And it will exist in some debates, and this topic does have an angle against the state's counterplan that I think allows the affirmative viable opportunity for victory. And in particular, I think that it's the border adjustment elements of most climate restrictions. So when you impose a cap and trade or a carbon tax, there's an international element to it where we tax or put a levy on international goods, which is something that only the federal government is capable of doing. So an affirmative could credibly claim a warming advantage and have a deficit against the state's counterplan that said that it did not solve international emissions. There's also modeling arguments, et cetera. But I think it's actually like a legitimate deficit to even the strongest worded state counterplan. The third thing that I think climate has is there is a unifying disadvantage that exists for pretty much every affirmative. So almost all affirmatives will link to the argument that the plan will hurt resource exporting economies. So Venezuela, Iran, Mexico, Canada, et cetera. So with those three things in mind, I think that this topic would be great for
Comprehensive internet reform.
Good morning, everyone. So I think that it should be at least in the top 5 on the ballot for a few reasons. I think that this topic really prepares students that they're going to do things to have an understanding of how the internet works and how these companies work, because this is going to be the reality that they're living in. And I think that there's a lot of information and there's a lot of data that they collect from us that does directly influence what type of news resources they get access to, but even down to the products that they get advertising. I think that there's a lot of really creative and original acts in that ground that allows them to really be creative. Even after this paper was published, there's so many changes that are happening within the internet that really allows them to kind of grow and imagine the future that they'll be living in. Also, this was chosen by the students when I was looking for an organization. This was a paper that the students really wanted to debate about because this is what impacts them the most, what their whole lives surround around, and then unfortunately our lives as well. And then also, I think another consideration is that there are a lot of tech companies that would, provide funding for tech literacy. And I think this would be an opportunity for programs that are looking for funding, that are looking for grants, to kind of tap into that resource, have benefits to help fund for their team. I think we have to make about democracy, civil rights, economic equality, help all within the internet topic. And I think that this topic can really capture a lot of things. And I think it's also important to have to think about what it means for our government to have more control over our largest communities. I think especially in today's context, right? There's a lot of things that are out there, and I think it's really important to think about what does that mean when the government gets involved. I think that's an important debate question. And then lastly, I don't know if any of y'all noticed this, but I started to notice this by 23 Facebook, TikTok, and all the ads, but just by all of us being this together, really my ads, I started to already change to reflect all the people who are sitting together. It's not because our phones are listening to us, it's because these apps are collecting our data and are updating it based off of people who are in this room. So it shows that my topics have been actively understanding. I don't know if anybody else knows this, but if we can all take out our phones later and compare our ads, there are new ads that I'm seeing that I would never probably been exposed to if I wasn't doing that. Thank you.
Cryptocurrency regulations. It's bright.
Thank you everyone for your time and work. I appreciate it. The NFHS set out with the goal of finding a timely, balanced, and student-based resolution that will empower policymakers in the 2023-2024 school year. The cryptocurrency regulation topic provides a unique opportunity to expand the purview of what policy they can provide for students while staying true to the best versions of policy-based resolution. First, in the realm of timeliness, cryptocurrency's relevance as the next big thing in popular culture, politics, economics, international relations, technology, and even academia, they have a choice candidate to access new, diverse, qualified, and ever-growing literature about how to tackle rising concerns surrounding cryptocurrency. Crypto and NFTs occupy a unique role in the public discourse by simultaneously being mainstream in students' daily life, technical policy discussions, and criticisms of technological development. In the realm of balance, academic teams will excel in different advantage and disadvantage areas, which encourages debate in every level of the case. There are winnable strategies on the case, go for a nuanced counterplan, or find new applications and foundational critiques that debaters have developed over many debates. In my opinion, no topic can parallel the amount of policy areas that we've discussed when it comes to fraud, terrorism, environment, cybersecurity, and any more centralized government mechanism that keeps it balanced. And in the realm of student focus, students know more about this than which built correctly. School curricula already underemphasizes the value of financial literacy, and the NFHS should capitalize on this opportunity to put debate at the forefront of people who are learning and discussing blockchain technologies and forwarding financial literacy for debaters, especially in the digital realm. Thank you very much.
Economic inequality.
similarly, there are three things that are mentioned not being considered. First is it a significant change from status quo? The three elements of this topic are primarily offered by failed presidential candidates and are very unlikely to be implemented either now or before the season happens. So that is a very significant change. Can it beat the state's counterplan? I feel like it is slightly less viable than the climate topic, but significantly, there's still opportunity for victory. Primarily because it is very difficult for the states to implement a wealth tax. A lot of wealth is held internationally, and the IRS is the primary institution that can evaluate and find international holdings. There's actually evidence that makes that argument. So if an affirmative, which is required by the topic, implemented some form of a wealth tax isn't exactly required, but an affirmative could choose to be a wealth tax. They would have an answer to the state's counterpoint that I think would actually hold up over a season-long of debates. There are also slightly more technical elements of this, so things like job portability or the federal jobs guarantee would be difficult to implement via a state counterpoint, but maybe with the strongest potentially. That said, I think there's an angle that the affirmative has that could sustain a year. And then third, there is a unifying DA. Everything that's required here fundamentally restructures the U.S. economy in a way that is much more significant federal intervention than we have now. So there are disadvantages about innovation and business confidence, about inflation, all of which are triggered by each of these affirmatives. So the three kind of metrics that I use for thinking about a good topic on that like economic. Thank you.
Question. In terms of thinking about topics, we want to look at topics that provide a broad range of approaches to the problem area. And we want to look at topics that are going to be accessible and salient for our students. There's no doubt that an elections topic and the fact that all of these students, if we believe that what we are generally doing is preparing these students for citizen advocacy, an elections topic is definitely very salient. In terms of a range of topics, there are approaches that are legal in nature, there are approaches that are financial in nature, there are approaches that are technical in nature. But allow me for a second to speak in the current wording of the topic, the elephant, or if you're of a different political persuasion, the donkey in the room, and that is the Electoral College. And a lot of people have in your mind, what am I going to say on the negative against the Electoral College Act? And the answer is the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, which gives you a case-specific counterplan to go against what is going to be a core affirmative if this topic is selected, which is going to give you a lot of direct clash on the one case that probably is giving most people the most estimation. Because of these things, this is why we ask for your vote for the elections. Thanks. Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
All right, True Policy Forum, I would like to get a roadmap. The uniqueness of the topic, the accessibility to students, and the debatability. On uniqueness, I want to remind everybody that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has never been a policy debate topic, nor has anything in the Middle East in general. I understand the concerns of presenting this topic for debate. Some concerns have been presented with new state laws in the areas of boycotts and what you can and cannot say. But as one of my esteemed colleagues pointed out, if this was true, and we considered every state's laws and feelings about a topic, we would never have debated certain topics such as criminal justice reform. Student accessibility. To those that say they are worried about their Jewish and Palestinian students and how this will affect them, I am here to say that I teach students from both backgrounds, and they are excited about having their voices heard, which is why we compete in debate. It's to have their voice heard. They actually helped write the paper. I think that a lot of times coaches are more concerned maybe than students are. There is a wealth of information for all students. This topic is equitable to all students, whether they're in a rural area, an urban area, a smaller school, a larger school, there is a numerous amount of information. My third point, debatability. There are numerous apps and NIGs that can be run. To further my point, there are at least 15 apps in my paper, as well as 12 NIGs. Those are just prelim. There are multiple things that can be run, DAs, Ks, you name it, it's there. Lastly, I would like to conclude with the fact that there are people that say that these debates could get very heated, that certain words could come in. I know that racist, terrorist, anti-Semitism, people are concerned will all be part of the round. I have one question for you when you consider this. Did you sit in a debate round discussing George Floyd or Breonna Taylor when the resolutions of criminal justice reform? Those rounds were highly emotional, controversial, especially depending on what political side the team was on, or the judge for that matter. So there really is no safe topic. And so based on all this information I presented, I urge a vote in the affirmation for Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Latin America.
Latin American topic is an approach that was a student first approach where the students wanted to create a topic that forced affirmatives to do large changes that were predominantly unpopular, to allow for a huge amount of debatability. Increasing the democracy promotion or increasing military operations in Latin America as a very large, robust literature base would ensure that there is negative ground throughout the entirety of the year. And more importantly, the content of that discussion is also valuable to get into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes for democracy to take place. When we have discussions about democracy in the United States or even in a litany of other countries, there are a lot of things taken for granted. However, if students were to understand what are the basic requirements or the institutional requirements needed for democracy. For example, if a government does not have a monopoly on violence, how are democratic institutions meant to take place? This is the sort of question that the Latin American topic would allow students to get into the nitty-gritty details of. And to echo Mr. Brigger's point previously, debatability is very important. And this is a topic that will ensure debatability. The negative will always have a topic argument, a disadvantage, that regardless of what weird, quirky things the affirmative tries to do, will always have access to be able to say, so we can have a very robust year of debate. Thank you.
Managing and protecting federal lands.
In all of the years of policy debate that I have been alive for, and my first year in high school was 1973, there has never been a discussion directly focused on the ownership of almost 30% of the land in the United States, which is what the federal government has. We've talked about areas of federal land. We talked about water a couple of years ago, but we've never actually looked at the core question, which is, should the federal government have this much land? And if so, how should it be managing, using, protecting, conserving, preserving, all of the things that it does or doesn't do particularly well? Also, this particular topic area does not allow simple states counterclaim the do the plan and let's have a bad politics debate, because the federal land is owned by the federal government. And so, yes, there are really excellent arguments as to why they shouldn't, why they should perhaps divest themselves of some of their land, give it back to indigenous nations, which is a really good critical area we haven't talked about yet this weekend, or give it to the state so they can use it as a revenue generator, as a jobs creator, as an environmental booster, and maybe protect some of it better than the federal government is now. Or perhaps private businesses could both preserve and conserve lands better than the federal government. So those are genuine debates as opposed to throwaway processes. When I wrote this paper, I was definitely thinking about a way to focus the attention on case debates, on genuine questions of how federal land ownership has worked in the past and what we could and should do to make it different and better in the future. So for those of you in places where case debates are a thing, or where you wish case debates were a thing, this is the topic you want to vote for. For those of you who like critical arguments, questions of whether land should be owned at all, questions of who should be owning that land, questions of settler colonialism, all of those are a new spin on a deeper development of old areas. So I'm looking for your vote for this.
Pager.
I think I've gone over a lot of the big reasons. I think this is a really good topic. I think a lot of you know what those are. Look at your teams, look at the tournament, and think about how many of those kids look like me and have never had a topic that discusses where they're from. We're a huge portion of the debate community. It's long overdue, and that's why an India topic has been second multiple times in the last decade. But I think there are a few other reasons that right now, this is a really good topic. The United States is finally starting to implement the pivot to Asia. So there's a lot of literature about further things that can happen. And the South Asia topic as a region is just the right size for an international relations topic. There's a robust literature base around India. There are evolving controversies around Afghanistan and regional terrorism. And there are a bunch of other really interesting countries that will have one full robust one. It's just the right size for a good IR topic that's not too unmanageable. And there's also locked in great controversies around China containment, Indo-Pac conflict, and Afghanistan. The other thing I want to end with is that for all types of debaters, this is a really good topic. Those three controversies are things that novices have heard about on the news. They know how to approach it. These are basic and key points of clash for lay-friendly circuits. There's a lot of bread and butter national circuit policy arguments, and the ways that settler colonialism and anti-Blackness intersect with South Asia make it really good for critical debaters. I think that this topic is long overdue, and because of recent political changes, literature is really good for us to make this change. Thanks.
Medical industry.
So I'm terrified of the future, not just because I'm a fan of sci-fi and Gattaca, but without knowing where our medical industry is going, we push out access to a lot of people that might not get access to life-saving drugs, life-saving medical devices. When we look at the topic of medical industries, we're looking at not just, economics of drug pricing or the whole testing process of new technology. We're talking about things that are in the purview of our future. Just recently, we've seen that they have created a CRISPR pill that you can take it, that can shut down parts of your genetics that produces toxins or produces things within your body. We're looking at the precipice of the future. And I think that there's a lot of really fruitful debate about access. We've talked about women's health with the whole overturning of Roe versus Wade has led to people buying a lot of emergency contraceptives. We have access to arguments about credibility because at the point where we're like not taking ownership of our medical health and we're allowing like big companies, big pharma to sort of access that, we are being really dangerous about what our future is going to look like. We have arguments throughout all of debate about the leading cause of death, obesity, heart disease, cancer, and all these different things, which have real life impacts. I'm from Houston, Texas, and so I don't really like talking about Mark Cuban, but he has created a new drug company, Drug Cost Plus, where he's selling drugs at cost to people that need it. We've seen tons of stories about how people are skipping dosage or people are not being able to access medical medicine because of high prices. We've also seen the opposite. We've seen people with opioid epidemics, and we've seen people being able to have too much access because of the way it's being processed. So future's here and it's really scary. Thanks.
Okay. So what happened now is there's a, please go ahead and scan this QR code to access your ballot if you're a voting delegate. Give everyone a second to go ahead and bring up the ballot here. And hopefully this works. Hopefully now we're close to the website. Great. what I'll do is we're gonna start our 10-minute proxy period. I'll come back to the screen if you've not gotten your book yet. So go ahead and you can begin your caucus time. Information about whatever you want, most of your preference.
If you are working with a Bailey or have a cooking experience or urban entities or Bailey experience or urban Bailey.
Yes. Oh, shoot. Yeah, just a reminder, you only choose 5 topics.
No, it is.
Oh.
I'm just pulling up the rank.
It's very bright.
So early.
Okay. Need more chapters.
Yeah, I got 2 shots of friends. I'm giving
Oh,
it a shot.
I'm not sure.
I don't need this anymore.
I be able to get that? I for some reason lost this.
I can text the link to you.
Oh, that'd be really helpful. Thank you. All right, thanks, boss.
Yeah.
Kevin, do you want to check my work? Do you want to check my work? We're done.
Sure. How do you want to do that?
When you get the results in, we'll just look at this. And then you just confirm that I gave you top 5 minutes. I just don't want to, I don't need it. Oh, yeah. No, that's fine.
They'll kill you.
That's it. Yes. Yes. Which means I need to change how I share my screen. But the downside of the Zoom share when you share the screen is there's just the half of it. Go on. South Asia, then agricultural studies, then climate change, economic, and then the top 5.
Back up, I lost my ballot when I walked around the room. I don't know where it's living on my phone. Okay. Here's my overreach here. Me and technology, the scanning in particular, is one of my worst things.
One minute. Definitely pro cookie.
Always.
Always pro cookie. Excited to hear what the alarms sound like.
What?
I have no idea what the alarms are gonna sound like, so I'm excited to hear. Okay. I'm still missing 3 people, 3 votes.
I just been advertising.
We'll count. Okay, I got 2 left. Oh, don't do this one yet. This is the same one. Yeah, don't scan this one.
Oh, the ballot's not ready. Oh, the ballot. Oh, no, but I mean, I'm sorry, I was.
Yeah, I have to adjust the second ballot for you. Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It didn't go through.
Okay, I still have, oh, and you're the last one. So this is the one then, yes. That seems scanning. Now I have 22. Sorry. What's Jonathan's date again? What's his date? I don't know. I see we were gonna have 22 or 23. I thought you said- I had 2. Okay, this one for Kansas. Missouri, Texas, Washington, Oklahoma, Michigan, Wisconsin. Yeah. Shows Wisconsin, Tennessee, Maryland, DC, Massachusetts. Okay, that's right. New York, Nevada, DC, Oregon, NST, Colorado, California, New Jersey. There's no duplicates. Jersey. No. I have 26 count. I might have.
You've got the one person who's the vote, which I would.
Maryland. Stuff around there. Every is Maryland. So 24. Okay. Here are the results of ballot 1. Don't worry, I'll zoom in. So right now it looks like the ones moving forward. Just so everybody knows here, before we get panicked, because we have more than 12 topics on the voting report today, we'll go down from the number we have down to 10. We'll vote again on round ballot 3, it'll go 10 down to 7. Ballot 3 will go 7 to 6. Ballot 4 will go 6 to 5. Okay, so we're gonna be moving 2 topics on this round. Take those 2 out, and be going back forward. So the 2 that will be removed will be Israeli-Palestinian conflict, cryptocurrency regulation. Give me a moment to update the round 2 ballot. And I'll leave this up there for you guys' enjoyment. Or not enjoyment. Okay, so I'm taking cryptocurrency. Israeli Palestine. All right. Here is the ballot number 2. So feel free to scan this one. you want to try scanning?
No, it's just my phone doesn't always pull up the little Google Lens thing. It's like, it has to catch it. It takes a second.
No, that makes sense.
It is totally a big problem. The reason we need it, like tech habits.
My phone's worse.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the timer for the 10-minute clock thing. If you need to scan it again, I've got it up on this screen. You can come over here and scan it from the screen. All right, 10 minutes starts now.
Thanks, buddy. That's changed my other one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she changed her way.
Oh, my God. You send me the link. Sports.
This clock seems a lot quieter than the last one.
You. Connie's up in the room. I have got it from the board.
2 minutes.
So one of his friends was judging for us at camp, and he was like, "You need to start striking the other judges' friends. They're going to check it up."
Why is he why?
Why? I don't know. He's a LD person, so he prefers those LD tricks and stuff.
So both Georgia and Oklahoma voted twice. Hey, Brian. Yep. So voted
Okay, on my phone, I thought I voted, and then I looked down and I had screened the vote. So I was like, what is going on? I hit the button and voted, and then I looked at my screen. I think it's because I opened it as a separate window, the old window popped up, and then I was like, I just did this.
No, we're sorry. So here's the first one you submitted.
They're both the same. Okay, that's.
Yep, I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. You're not the only one.
Okay.
Every time I go off the screen, it's
I know what it is. Back there in the shirt, he's wearing the white side. Oh. Sorry, James.
touch you fast. Yeah. Okay. Just gotta fix one here. Okay, everybody, here is your round 2 votes. I'm getting there, I promise. Sorry.
There are 24 responses. Okay.
Yeah, there I go. I miscounted the delegate thing. There's 24 in the last round.
How many are you?
3. All right, so what we'll be doing now is we've gotten down to 7 topics. So we do have a 3-way tie here. There we go. We have to take off Aging in America, Comprehensive Internet Reform, and one of these 3.
Why not?
I'm sorry. It doesn't change the fact that I still have to figure out which of these two of these 3. I apologize.
Are we voting for one?
One of the 3.
Yeah, double D.
Yeah.
10
2 of the 3 have to come out.
Yeah.
You have to eliminate 3 topics. So Asian American videos 1. We have to eliminate 2 of these. So give me 1 second. I'm going to do this. Sorry. All right, give me a moment to make a new one here. You may talk amongst yourselves if you would like.
Yeah. Yes.
That's fair. I'm sorry. That's a question. Yeah. So just make sure there's the right to read. Latin American branch.
Latin America ones, yeah.
I mean, the two choices would be to eliminate the one or better. The other choice would be to take a vote among the three, and each other is the lightest. We don't have a great procedure.
I would say we just have to really select one. Those two.
You're asking to vote for the one that they have relegated to just
The one that's the one they want to advance. So we only need one.
Oh, yeah.
Did you mean to start that time?
prefer not to do it that way, primarily because what I've noticed in the past that changes. Yeah.
Well, I did order it.
Everybody, here's how this is going to work. Here's the QR code for the tiebreaker. You'll see the 3 topics on that tiebreaker. We'll have 5 minutes to caucus. You'll choose one topic. The one topic to get the most votes will be the one that will advance to the next round of balloting. If the 2 be dropped away. A little bit different. Everybody understand when I'm. Raise your hand if you're like, I got you. All right. Yes, ma'am. This is your ballot for the tiebreaker. You will vote for one topic. That's the topic you want to advance to the next round. Once you vote for that, then you submit your ballot, and away we go. The one that has the highest vote totals will advance to the next ballot. The other 2 will be dropped from the ballot. Very good.
There's a tie.
Please don't.
All right. 5-minute clock to be reviewed. 5-minute clock. And see about tell me how to vote. Somebody not to see it.
Oh, yeah. Like, you always do it for years.
Yeah. It's always strange. You had a lot of fun.
Okay.
But it's
Yeah, sorry to reply back to your, sorry to reply back to your email.
Oh, no problem. I wanted to push you. I knew you should be busy.
Yeah, no, I
feel like, I like tell everyone just not you just like, I remember played the game with my mom. You know, played you guys,
Yeah.
seen all the monument. I mean, that was special. That is a trip in and of itself. Right? So, you know, I was like, oh, I mean, it was great. Like,
I got a sweatshirt at the Crazy Horse Memorial, and all my friends are super jealous.
yeah, I
Every
mean,
time I wear it, it wasn't so
yeah. I'd never been, and I just learned so much of the stuff. It's just amazing.
And going into it, I was like, oh, what is it? And we had a great time.
I'm sorry.
Let me show you.
Well, Rosie.
Thanks for checking. Sorry.
Yeah. Is anyone else an NBCA member?
They hardly get in this team, like just like out of anyone that I know, he's on the last.
My dad
And the most.
Then we can go back and take one again.
My dad did
Oh, that's awesome. My buddy Herb, he just told me now, so like, no.
I was scared to breathe.
Yeah, I know. It's like, sometimes they get really bad. Yeah. How awesome. And that way, like, stats about channels. Over there.
What's this disadvantage? I know that. And I said this. Yeah, I did.
Six, 5:45 or something.
Hopefully they don't take it.
1 minute. Yeah. Actually, I think that works. I thought this was storms.
What was that?
I thought this was storms.
Apparently they've canceled a ton of flights the last 2 days.
That's that's why I chose Delta, so I never have to. Wait, why do we have 25 responses?
Left.
No, it's 25 responses. Word of it. Well, nobody's double voted.
Okay, you're also just like this number. I unplugged my computer, haven't bothered to get you. Barcode. I'm sure you're right.
No, we're good. Thank you.
It's fun. You know, when you're old, it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Crazy. I haven't charged mine. Wow. Thank you. That's a conflict.
Let's do this. Okay, do you want to, hold on, Kevin, do you guys want to? Have you guys? We went from 24 to 25 zones, so nobody duplicated. So you just need to find out where this extra state came from.
What are we checking?
All right, so if you guys want to grab a piece of paper, write down the ones that I say. So not only this, Massachusetts. New York, DC, Illinois, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, California, Colorado, New Jersey, Missouri, Georgia, NBC, Arkansas, and
That's
the 25 section 20. So again, New York, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, California, Colorado, New Jersey. Yeah, Georgia. And I see it.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. So the counter is just I feel better about that. Thank you guys. Okay, everybody, here we go.
Better explain why it's this one.
All right, now, before anybody says anything, it says 25 responses. The reason why it took us so long to fill this up there, we counted, double counted, and triple counted. For some reason, Google's saying 25 responses, but there are only 20 province. Okay, so Latin America moving forward to the third round ballot.
Wait, two of them are.
Just one.
Because aging in America and the other one was.
Aging in America was cut.
Yeah.
Aging in America and one other was.
No, three. We'll go three and four.
Got
Okay. Give me a moment to revise the ballot here for round 3. Okay, so the ones we were cutting.
Medical.
Okay, so aging. And then managing grants. And medical industry. All right, we're eventually gonna get there. Okay, your round 3 ballot will be ready in a moment. Hey, it'll be on your ballot. Yep. Okay, so this is your round 3 ballot. It is updated right now. You may go ahead and scan your QR code. That's weird with a counter. Oh, hold on. Sorry.
Right, we're going to 6 and then 5.
7, then 6, then 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, hold on.
Don't vote.
Where is my mouse?
Oh.
Stage. Right.
And
then
then
you lose me.
managing.
And medical.
Alright, and so we should have agricultural subsidies, climate change, comprehensive internet reform. Cryptocurrency needs to come out.
Right.
Okay, economic inequality, electoral reform, Israeli Palestinian conflict
It's gone.
is going. Okay, Latin America,
Stays.
South Asia.
Yes.
Now you may vote. Yep, I'm getting there. There you go. This is fun. Right?
Yes, I agree.
Everybody have it? All right, caucusing time will begin. You may caucus.
Okay, based on all the earlier caucusing, right now the NSD vote is sitting at econ, ag, South Asia, climate and elections. If you want to caucus in a different argument, come to me.
En route.
So, can I have that? Can I go?
QR code thing.
So aging is gone.
Crypto.
It's real smart.
And
I would love to tell you this opinion between elections in Latin America. That's what I
We'll
want
take
to
one
do.
more. This one. So here's one.
right to the next conference, you at least go home by 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I go home tonight. Yeah, I think I read about. Then I Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, to Friday. We kind of. So I get home on Tuesday, then I'm home Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I come to Seattle. That's what it is. Right till next Tuesday. And then I'm home. Wow. 20. So, crazy. And then I'm gone the rest of the season.
That's how I feel about when our season starts. To be average, 20 to 28 tournaments a year. Yeah. We try not, so now that we have so many people on staff, we try not to get into all of them. But the year Rosie had her son like 2.5 months earlier, I had to go to literally a year. So there were some weeks we would come back like on a Tuesday. Huh?
Right.
We would come home on like a Tuesday or a Monday, and then we may fly out like Thursday or Friday. Mhm. Luckily, we don't have to do that.
This is my busiest.
And then things kind of calm down.
Calm down a little bit, and then December. I'm just. Yeah.
Your wife has adjusted to your wife has adjusted to.
Oh, no. She gets me this week. Like, oh. Let's go back.
Yes.
I think it's huge control.
Where is next year?
And I guess with COVID, now your demand on your jobs working. Yeah.
I knew I was not, I wasn't seeing.
So it doesn't have to begin on time. Hopefully high school girls are excited about the process and work on paper for next year.
That's what they're saying.
They probably don't know it's important though. What's you did? What's the how much did they get for a paper on time?
As a new author, going through the whole process. Not each. Which pays for each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're great.
They're gonna get coaching balls.
Yeah, no, I think it was good to have it. They seem to be engaged in active conversation. Inappropriate. Next to you, steps.
So after this year, you're using Colton, you use Weston. That's three.
Three, yeah. So you Chinese.
Staying involved in the process. One of the best papers I've seen for a while was the Salvation paper.
I think he's interested. Staying in the process.
So that's a YouTube video. So does it allow you to set the camera or do you have to pick a video?
Every time you go. There's a way you're supposed to set a timer. No, I can never do it.
I have never been.
So it's like YouTube video.
Because we've had events on campus where we wanted to do this congressional primary debate. We ended up hunting down one of those wrestling clocks. So
I have a timer I like better for different settings. I just one that I use like when I give my advocacy presentation. I have everyone talk about like different the top three things after you forward. I have this timer that has all these excuses that go in. That's a giant fireball explosion at the end because I want it more light. This has some. I'll read. When I do that, would you mind? I'll have this next out. Fine. 1 minute. Oh, you're quick on that. You're quick on that.
On the vote. Yeah, well, I keep asking the Arkansas people, and they're like, our rankings don't change the top two names.
Here. All right, here are ballots here. Results. Moving off comprehensive internet reform. And so our final ballot, we agricultural subsidies, climate change, economic inequality, electoral reform, right America, and South Asia. We are final 6. And so we are voting off one more, and then we are final 5 comprehensive national ballot. One more time, comprehensive internet reform is being removed. We're gonna have you sort of pick your top 5. Between agricultural subsidies, climate change, economic inequality, electoral reform, Latin America, and South Asia. We'll be updating the ballot here shortly, and we'll be starting our last round of voting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I saw it's easier if I read it out.
The way you have 2 sets of eyes.
Okay, here's your ballot for the final round of voting.
Close.
Supposed to be 11 Eastern. So.
Oh, every.
Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna start the caucusing timer. Maybe. All right, we'll see everybody back in 10 minutes.
If you have any questions of the Latin American topic, I will answer your questions. There is so much I could have talked about, but I didn't get the chance to. Hi, hello, Tommy.
Hey, James, I gotta pull a photo. Can you pull up the QR code? I got it. How dare you? The one time I don't do that. Thank you. Thank you.
But this time I didn't get the ballot.
It might be easy ballot because I hit something and it went back.
Yeah. It is possible. No, nope. Is that? You interested? Yeah. Yes, you're. Good. Yeah, it's great. Is it easier this time than walking? This year would be easier to do with my. That's your. These are the northern route. Yep.
All right. Do you all have any questions?
Right, exactly. 1 minute.
Sorry, asking.
Yeah, you're good. I, there's yes. I promised that on every year topic will lead me. Let your yes.
I almost wrote David.
Yep.
I don't know what NIL is.
Name, image, likeness. You ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Everyone, voting is now ended. Here are our 5 national ballot topics. you can take a moment. They'll be eliminating electoral reform. Five topics for the national ballot will be agricultural subsidies, climate change, economic inequality, Latin America, and South Asia. At this time, I'd like to thank all of the topic authors for all their incredibly hard work and defense of what they have to do, balloting. So thank you all topic authors for all your hard work. I know that this can be a hard process to see things be eliminated, but we have a high quality level and a high number of papers. And so I really want to take this opportunity to thank all of the topic authors. Great work. Okay, now time to start our business meeting. For those of you who are new to this, we do have a list of all kinds of things we go through, and there is a time for open forum discussion at the end. First of all, I do want to do a couple of thank yous, and I have to apologize because I have something to give everybody. So those of you who are on this list, don't go anywhere until I give you the thing you're supposed to have. All right, so we have new wording committee, Jennifer Adams. Where's Jennifer? Great to have Jennifer on the wording committee this year, a lot of great input. Look forward for 2 more years. You're not getting off crazy. Our outgoing wording committee members, I want to thank Jennifer Stewart and Justin Grimmy. They're great. They've had a lot of great work last year. Great input and covered all the members. I also want to thank Colton Gilbert as the wording committee chair. Person. An incredible chair, great guy to work with, proud of all my friends, and thank you very much for taking on this process.
Thank you, Jamie.
That's more thank you to give all the report authors. Great work, like I mentioned earlier. Kevin Minch quietly works in the background, making sure that everything looks clean. Going through all this from what you're about to see in a minute. He starts the whole process over again in about 15 minutes. I want to thank our host, Craig Monteith, Kansas. Craig, thank you very much for an amazing experience this weekend. So if everyone can I take Marty Marsh for your office. Thank you Craig, for also hosting us. Unfortunately, Kyle, who's the guy that makes sure that I actually operate like an adult, was sick this week, and so he was not able to join us, but he puts an enormous amount of work to make sure all of this goes well in the background. And I think he's listening to the live stream now. So Kyle, thank you for all your work. And certainly thank all of you for being at a record number of 68 delegates from 15 states and 4 national organizations. Really enjoyed having everyone here. Bring a friend next year. Let's make it a better meeting again. All right, here's how the national ballot will work. So at the end of August, we'll be sending out the ballot. All of the topic authors in the top 5 ballot needs to remain here following the business meeting to get your topic paragraphs finalized by the wording committee. Also, wording committee, after this business meeting, you also remain here until those paragraphs are completed. At the end of August, we'll be emailing that out to all of the states and national associations for their members to vote. That goes out on the first ballot is due on October 15th. Then we go into October 22nd. We'll be announcing the final 2 ballots. This happens pretty quick. And those, the final 2 topics on the final ballot. And that's when those will go out. We'll have the final ballots are due on January 3rd of 2023. And then the final topic announcement is announced on January 10th of 2023. So this is the timeline we'll be operating on for the rest of this fall for this particular process. Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments about this timeline? All right. Just as a reminder, the NFHS is a membership organization. Our members are the state associations in partnership with the national groups that we do work with. When we do these ballotings, we have an expectation that you, as a member organization, go back and find out from your membership how they want to vote and bring that forward in your one state or national organization. All right, so upcoming topic areas. 2023 is a domestic year for when we have this meeting. The 2024 debate topic meeting will be an international year. Okay, so as you are looking at writing topics for next year's meeting, it'll be a domestic topic year for the meeting, which means the 2024 topic will be domestic. Okay, we do have NFHS awards. We have the speech, debate, theater, state section citation awards. I'm doing this as a selfish plug, so you're gonna bear with me. The beauty of having control over the PowerPoint is you guys. So we do have 2 awards that happen in here for this group. We have a speech and debate outstanding educator award, and we have a theater outstanding educator award. This is new this year, the theater one. The NFHS wants to put more emphasis on showing the differences between speech and debate and theater. And so I think it's a good change. And so we'll have 2 different ones there. Those are due on November 15th. We have the NFHS Hall of Fame. This is also due on November 15th. And we do have Hall of Fame members in this group. So if you're a current Hall of Fame member for the NFHS, please go ahead and raise your hand or stand. So, Rich. This is, I would say, one of the harder groups to be a part of. So it's hard. We have the NFHS Heart of the Arts Award, which is due on February 1st. This is a award that is not an achievement award, but rather a character style award. And so we recommend all states, if you have someone who you're like, oh, this person is outstanding, they may not have that 50-year history of teaching, but they have done something that is outstanding for that year. This is awesome. So we've had theater groups that have started like a theater troupe for special education students. We've had a theater troupe that also has the national award for having an anti-bullying message. We've also had debate coaches that have gone above and beyond to make sure that students are engaged in what they're doing. So it's a great award. Yeah.
I'd like to mention that Susan McLean from the great state of Oregon, who normally comes to this meeting, and who will be host along with Jennifer next year.
Those of you who Susan McLean know Susan McLean, she just got inducted on June 29th at NFHS Hall.
And I filled it out. If you want to have me walk you through the process, just email me because I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's doable. Definitely.
That's a I would take her up on that.
Yeah.
And then we have the NPS Portfolio School of Excellence, which is due on May 1st. This is award we give out to 1 school per year across the country. And then myself and Jana as the speech and theater committee chair, and Craig as the music chair. We go to that school, and it's a really great experience. I'm pretty selfish to be at it. All right, Jennifer, you're going to get the stage because next year we are going to beautiful Portland, Oregon.
All right, we are super excited to host you next year. We have several different plans in the works, something for Friday night and then something different for optional for Saturday night. That information, I'm not sure when that comes out exactly.
It'll come out next week.
In October. Okay. I also have, so for the top 5 balloting, I have some gifts from Oregon. So if you made the top 5, please come see me. And the very top one, I don't have your gift with you because I'm going to get you a Portland t-shirt with that, you know, the Bigfoot on it. So I need to get your size, but I will know that to you. So the other 4 come get a special gift, but it should be really fun. Portland, it won't be as hot, we hope. You know, we're usually about 10 degrees below than here. So that should be nice. If we don't get the humidity. We're super excited, bring extra people. We've really definitely liked it. And I've also been working with the Urban Debate League, so I'm hoping to have both, because we're so close to Washington, a lot of people from Washington come to the meeting, and then also hoping to have a bigger presence to the Urban Debate. Thank you.
Please join us in Portland, Oregon next year. And as always, the hotel rate does go 3 days early and 3 days late. So we're not going to make vacation out of it, just like some of you did here. If you're looking at hosting in 2025 or 2026, sorry, I glossed over. Tentatively right now, we're looking at 2024 in Washington, D.C. So we're finalizing those plans, and we will talk more about that next year. Going to host in 2025, 2026. This is our rotation on sides. So Odd number of years we're west, even number of years we are east. Regiment right down the middle. If you are thinking, hey, I'd really like to host this, talk to Craig, be like, it's not that big of a deal, it's super easy, people love hosting. So talk to him and kind of go. All right, it is time to volunteer for papers. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna turn the cable over to Kevin and he will show you all the submitted topics.
While he's moving the cable, let me explain a couple of things. I'm still in the midst of moving some stuff around on the spreadsheet, so you're going to see names on the tab that I'm showing. Don't worry about it. I'm just moving authors from another document, and I haven't had a chance to finish that yet. The other thing is in some cases we've had multiple people suggest the same topic or something very similar. So if you don't see the exact wording you submitted, we've collapsed it down to make this a little bit easier. And we've also removed the international topics. Although I'm not sure whether colonialism is of space is international or not, but we'll keep it on there. So yeah, so you're going to get to vote on as many of these as you want. And what we do is we rank order them after that to determine priority. So you could vote for all of them if you want to. And these gentlemen will call out the numbers for me. Anybody can vote on this. Alternative energy.
Raise your hands high.
Antitrust.
Yep. Hand it over and I got my. I know. Here's what this is. All right, antitrust regulations, raise them high.
Biomedical ethics.
Just need your hand up.
Business giant reform.
Business what?
Business giant reform. You want me to do that again?
We need a gift of that.
Are we counting?
Are we counting?
Is it the same as antitrust or?
Just raise your hands for a vote. Ready? Raise your hand if you want to do this one.
Climate. Climate.
Climate.
Climate hardening.
Preparing now for a warmer world.
Yeah, can you make the screen a little bit larger?
Yes, you can.
Please, and thank you.
What was it? What was the total on that?
That's much better, yes.
What was that? I'm sorry. 24. Colonialism and mercantilism in outer space.
That should be fun.
Outer space. This is the method between American colonialism and outer space. As it should.
Critical infrastructure.
Critical infrastructure.
Disaster preparedness.
All right, disaster preparedness. Raise up high if you want to prepare for disasters.
When the giant comes.
When the giant comes.
drug regulation.
All right, drug regulation, either farm and or recreation. We will be in Portland next year.
Me no math.
Education reform. That's good. All right.
Employment, living wages and staffing concerns.
Employment.
Financial infrastructure.
In financial infrastructure.
Food insecurity.
Okay, food insecurity. In/security. Healthcare, future of US healthcare.
Housing.
Housing.
Immigration reform.
Immigration.
Twenty.
Indian
country. Indigenous sovereignty.
Indigenous sovereignty.
More or less the same.
That's why.
Infrastructure reform.
Infrastructure reform.
Yeah, someone more.
There's financial infrastructure earlier.
Intellectual property rights / copyright. Here we go.
Why aren't you writing it?
Ready? It is.
Judicial reform.
All right, judicial reform, everyone.
Natural resources.
Natural resources. It's a pretty big topic.
Should we inflate this next number for Kyle since he's not happy or not here?
And Kyle's not here. It's just everyone's.
Right, like,
Okay. Kyle Mills would like to write a paper. So he wants to do name, image, likeness in college sports. Raise your hand if you want to do this one.
it'll make him feel really good. $37.
All right, nuclear weapons, nuclear weapon reduction. Overturn Supreme Court decisions by list topic.
Thank you.
Public school safety in the United States. Public school safety. The name would be reducing or ending the processed food and pharmaceutical industry funding of university nutrition departments.
Hello. I did too. Well. What?
Reform the US military.
I'm interested.
Reforming federal dietary guidelines and nutrition policy. Social media.
Space colonization, we've already
Base
got.
colonization.
We've already got it
We got
earlier.
this one. All right.
Do the next one. Well,
Okay, this one is different. Space exploration, the United States federal government should substantially increase its budget. Space. Here we go. Chris Master.
Bring it back.
That's my first.
sports.
Sports.
Twenty. Tax reform.
Telecommunication infrastructure.
I only copy as submitted. First Amendment.
First Amendment.
You'll be able to tell them later.
United States federal government should substantially increase net zero infrastructure. That's carbon neutral.
Well,
Transportation infrastructure in the United States. Unions slash labor. Is it really? United States federal government should substantially increase its energy exportation. Okay, energy exportation. U.S. military recruitment slash veterans. You know, both sides. So. Welfare. And workers slash labor rights.
1838.
And obviously, some of these that are similar, we'll talk to authors and merge them together.
Agricultural subsidies.
What was that?
Should I say add agricultural subsidies?
And you want to add electoral?
Yeah, we're gonna, we will provide just leave that one. Okay, so electoral reform as well.
I'm good at this. I am business-based exploration and development, and wondering if that's kind of fine.
You'll get it. So are we pulling these? or-
Okay. Okay. Are there any others that aren't on here we want? Okay, so let's take a vote on these three. Agricultural subsidies. And obviously, it becomes the topic, it's not. Electoral reform. And interim reform. Now, Kevin's gonna show these up on the screen in tally order. These are non-binding numbers, right? So if you're like, I really want to write a topic, but it only has 7 people vote for it, it doesn't mean you shouldn't write that topic. You can still write that topic.
No problem.
And some of the ones that are like have 42, that topic may not be written, right? So like these are non-binding. This just gives us a gauge. So as we look for authors for volunteering, which you're gonna have the opportunity to do with Kevin later today. But if we don't have enough areas, a lot of topic authors will come to us and be like, hey, what was popular that we can look at? And they'll just kind of go through and say, oh, here's what the topics were that are submitted. Also, if you're wanting to write a paper, but you don't know where to start, this gives you an idea of some starting ground. Or if none of these tickle your fancy, you can be like, oh, I never thought about alternative energy, but I want to think of cold fusion instead. I'm just making that up. Don't actually take it real. But it allows you to just kind of think about what topics you like to write. And worker and right.
We'll merge those.
We'll merge all those. This is the downward journey start of the process. All right, everybody good with these? Okay. Karen, let's do it. Sorry. We're not caucusing again, don't worry. Okay, a couple other things to be aware of is that if you are interested, the next meeting we have for the Speech Faith Theater Committee will be September 19th to the 20th. That should say 20th. And if you have agenda topics, let myself know or Jana Riggins, chair of that committee, let her know. If you are interested in attending the Performing Arts Conference, it's September 20th to the 22nd in beautiful Denver, Colorado. Denver, yep, here we go. So feel free to attend the Performing Arts Conference. It is a great conference. Connects with a lot of administrative levels of people. And to me, I think it's a great time. So I don't know, Craig or Jen, if you guys have anything you want to say on those. Good. Great.
This is wonderful. You should be there.
I agree. It is a free conference, just like this one, so just gotta get yourself there. All right, another area I want to talk about for everyone here is that the NFHS Learn program is now a cognitive accreditation platform. So it does make it a lot easier if you want to use the courses on there for professional development. So this is what we're building up. Launching this fall will be coaching, speech, and debate for new coaches. It's going to be a great course. It should be ready by the middle of September. We also have other things out there on how to host a speech and debate tournament and other courses that will help you out. I also want to take a moment to congratulate Pam McComas for getting accepted into the Kansas Hall of Fame. So congratulations. Pam, this is very well deserving, and I'm very proud to be able to call you a friend of mine. And you've had a very incredible career, and so I'll need you what I'm doing here much better than I could without Pam. So congratulations again, well deserved. All right, it is now time for our business meeting, open forums. This is the time when we have open discussion about the meeting, the process of what we work on here in our room, with the community here in the space. So we'll go ahead and open it up.
Yeah, so I always appreciate this meeting. I appreciate feedback people provide, and I appreciate the conversation. I also thought that removing debatability from the wording conversation on Saturday was a huge miss. We did not have adequate time in our Marshall subcommittee to talk about issues like what happens with the state counterplan here, how do officers debate this, and all of those types of things. And your Marshall subcommittee meeting is only 3 topics or 4 topic papers, which means if you have insights on a different topic paper, like patents, because you have experience with that or something, you don't get to talk about that. So there's literally no time currently adjudicated for us to talk about debatability of the topic at the topic meeting, which is.
All right, so here.
Well, first of all, thank you to everyone who was involved in the host committee and making these meetings happen and, back in person. That being said, I would be the first person to say, I think that the community would be better served with these meetings, having a more robust online component or, just the barriers to, I'm fortunate to come from a school that, is funded my travel and ability to be here. But when I look at the raw cost, I'm concerned about the accessibility of this physical meeting and when it being as reflective. So perhaps, I'm not sure the solution is, let's subsidize and let's have more ways of like scholarshiping meeting, but I think that the equitable thing and something we'll learn from the pandemic is that. That being said, but thank you to everyone who's involved in using the budget or putting your labor together to make this meeting happen in person. Very appreciative.
All right, Chris.
Yeah, I wanted to pick back up what Sarah said. I think that coming from like different style meetings to this, a lot of people, I think it's something that influenced maybe a bit more of Robert order for people on the floor. And there's a more direct on a question component where maybe the first day prior to the Marshall subcommittees, maybe about the morning of the second day, people come up, they defend their topic, they get cross-examined on it. People who have negative concerns about debatability then also can come up and express those concerns in a kind of structured format that allows for some discussion debatability prior to wording. So I think that also could inform wording. I think there may have been topics here that maybe were lacking some debatability that could have been reformed in the Marshall subcommittee process to increase some of the.
And to echo their point, but to be clear, to create a dedicated time that is not just for like a time for like just to talk about a topic generally, but just like in the schedule, but debatability of topics and just like make it very clear and articulate to make sure that we in our discussions are focused on the things like there are times where our discussion gets circular at times, but I think be able to dedicate a particular time so no matter what, if things get off track really easily, remember we're talking about debatability here. I think that'd be great. I don't want to get.
All right,
Yeah, I think some of the discussions I have taken, I think the consensus of people I talked to was that think maybe one way to increase the time to discuss debatability is to cut more topics earlier. I know no one wants to see their topic cut on Friday and Saturday, and I understand that, and that would be sad, and I would certainly be sad, but I think it is certainly best for the room, because that means that you can discuss the remaining 5 or 6 or 7 topics more in depth. I also don't think the 2-minute spiel at the end is super necessary today. I mean, I don't want to speak for the room, but I don't think that made a ton of difference in what people were thinking about already discussed. One thing I thought went super well this year, and I know others have sort of said this as well, so I thought Colton did a really awesome job of running the wording discussion. Last year, I think wording all 5 topics at the end is really, really strong.
I missed the memo. I did not realize I would be able to do presentation. So, for like before, even before. And so actually knowing that ahead of time and what it should be and how it should look like, or what, they look for is super helpful. I mean, I have people around me to say what you want to do. That was nice, but I think that maybe just a little bit more questions. Just a little bit more helpful.
So the upfront information, I think that having an understanding of the turnaround expectations of your first draft, what that actually is, and also more empowerment of the authority of the author, right? Of knowing and knowledgeable to say, and having a sequence of culture, Colton did a really great job of going back to the author of do you think that this is representational of what the work effort of secret? So a continuance of that maintenance so that this culture in our space is a little more welcoming, so it's not as intimidating, it's more through the process rather than getting there and being kind of I don't know what's happening, and then also just limited time. Debatability and that expectation is taken care of with the subsidy content parts, then we should also have that as well as flexibility during lecture.
Yeah, I just think I'm a big fan of the conference. I think you do such a tremendous job. Everyone here really mutual towards each other, and I really enjoy it. The one thing I would suggest is one-on-one, maybe providing an opportunity for one-on-one time, maybe having each topic around the room, and then the delegates have time to talk to those people, because caucus, those happen in pockets. Those discussions don't happen universally, and so I just feel that there are topics that maybe I've been a part of proposing that I just really didn't get the chance. Here's why it's so important. Here's why we should debate it. And I think it goes back to Sarah's, debatability thing, where I think maybe having that opportunity to have that one-on-one, and then you're all right, 5 minutes is up, go to the next table. And if you don't have concerns, you move on to the next table. But I think that especially for the delegates to have that, because I understand why we have limited time. I understand why it has to be focused on the wording. That's the key here. But at the same time I do think there have been topics that haven't been voted on or haven't been popular because of the lack of the ability to explain a little bit more beyond that 2 minutes.
So I'm gonna go with Zara.
All right, that you need a great model. Yeah. So it's gonna be a little bit of keeping very vulnerable. I actually don't know a lot of people. Come off, but I think my role is I'm here as a fellow, and I think the part of the fellowship keeps me including voices that aren't necessarily included in the conversation, having more representation for a large participation that's not really on top. And as I see in the room, I am literally the only Black woman in this room, and so it makes it very difficult to get. I feel I leave this conference not feeling like I have any feedback on like what any of you want to on why that, like, or like, also just like, it seems like in this case, there are just certain things that like are certain topics that are like, are going to be voted on. Like, I feel like the only way to be successful in this space is to write topics and just people who are sitting in the room. But not saying that, yes, I know that makes it like, it seems like it's very hard to engage. It's like no one really come up to me to ask me about my paper, to ask me about, you know, like my experience or any of the things. And I just feel like it just seems like my position as a fellow here is kind of like for show, like, oh, like, yeah, you know, we have this paper and we have this person come out for this event. But I really have not gotten to know, or people have not made the effort to, you know, engage me or include me, and it feels like, I don't know, it doesn't feel great. And it feels very much like an outsider, and I feel like very much like it just, yeah, I don't know, I wish there was a better intention on like engaging the people who we know are constantly of like our conversations. I wish there was like more flexibility on being open to like what's different ideas, and like, because also like I think everything, like shout out to all the like topographers, like I think the papers I got chosen really great, but I think they're just like, I don't necessarily know if they're like reflective of like the direction where our students are going. And I just think that there is so much resistance to things that are scary or hard or different or new. And I think that we keep recycling like same ideas. And like, yeah, that might work for some like debate programs, but I feel like, right, I look at the third largest school district in the country, and like, these are not the conversations that our people are having. Like, yeah, obviously, like, everyone, every area has different needs and different thoughts. And I just feel like as a community, our creativity for debate and in the way that we choose resolutions is not, it's not adapting. And I think that that's always going to be a harm to the activity. And when I think about like my participation in this conference as a Black woman, I don't even know the matters that I'm here. I don't even know like why I'm here. I shouldn't feel that way. And I felt that way within the state community as a whole. And it's like, wow, because I actually like, that's like 2 miles more, like I actually have like been very involved in like my state community, in my state, in Chicago, in Illinois, in DC. And I see the impact that I have on like literally thousands of students. Like Chicago State has over 1,000 students that I've been like looking at for years. But because I'm not like in this debate circle, I'm just no one. And I feel like no one at least. That's not because my topics will get chosen, it's just because it just feels like there's already some unsaid idea of like what type of topics we want to vote on. So there's no point of even trying to entertain, you know, people that are. I think that like I'll play shot right? Like I think that there's just but yeah, it. I don't know. Like I want to be involved. Like I want to stay in the game, but it doesn't feel like there's a way for me to stay in the game where there's value to it that's not also harmful. Like me, and I know like some people probably like, oh no, like, I don't want to be dramatic, but things work.
I think that very clear about what we're identifying. Or whether that when things need to go with the crowd, not only is it actually or that kind of and it's like I think that while the discussion that we have with people a lot of times they bring in problems, folks on how that planning process is going to move forward, unless you're doing it yourself, it feels like kind of
I that's been bringing up the process of work with the. Yes, but I would want to consider making a proposal to people paying from domestic foreign district to just domestic foreign. My argument for that is that one of the few places kids get any foreign policy education at all in high school is in debate. And if you have a rotation that's pretty firm, like domestic foreign, kids are guaranteed to foreign policy topics, one per class, last year's and 4 years, you're guaranteed domestic topics. It's flat, it's been years, almost always go domestic. It is an education for 4 years. Topics, and there's been a couple where that hasn't happened. And I know when they originally proposed this change, it was kind of the other way around. Everyone liked foreign topics that are almost topics. But I just think if the rotation was foreign domestic, it would just sort of guarantee that there's like an equal amount to those sides. And also think that when you have the years like this where it's a mixed topic year and the ballots come out, it's like, you know, are there 3 or 4 domestic topics versus 1 foreign? Is that how that's kind of skews reality? Some people might want a foreign topic and there's a little bit of choice. You know what I mean? It can, I think it would be better to say foreign domestic. And I think it's the you bring up asset which I get it. But I would like to think about it better than.
And I just actually read the history of how we got to the petition. That was fun. Very long, actually, and the vote structure that those of you who are here when that happened, like that was I read all the minutes, they were like 12 pages long, and that was quite a process. So definitely. Oh, sorry. So I'll go Jennifer.
I'd like to piggyback on what some other people were saying about the discussion before. I think maybe something that would help from a public author's perspective is if 2 to 3 weeks out, we could have Zoom sessions for an hour to an hour and a half, allowing people to come in and talk to the paper with the author. I do think that there needs to be some time to do that beforehand, but the morning of, before you hit wording, if there's a large issue problem, isn't enough time for the author to go back and research and think about things. And I think that would be very valuable. You know, when we talked about aging this year, he had a feeling that elderly might, we had no idea the backlash would be what it was. Had we known that, had we had some time to look at that, I think we could have maybe headed off some of those problems and some of the other topic authors that were having, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I know being in that situation myself, when we have presented, if there had been a little more time up front, then maybe that would give us some options.
Right.
General question is this the organization that promotes high school debate as an activity in the states? My sense is the number of schools that have high school debate is dramatically less. When I first started in, like 30 years ago, coming to these sessions, the urban debate people have done an amazing number of students. And it's like, how do you get more people to get that experience? I have a friend coaching a debate program in New York City. He's a homeschool guy in college. But there's huge interest among the parents who see their kids engaged in this, but some foundation is paying him to provide the coaching experience for a nonprofit. Is this a group that does that? Maybe there's another group, the NSDA maybe does more, but it seems to me as a high school activity, debate is huge, should be huge, and it is in Kansas, I believe, in some places, but it's in Washington State where I'm at, the schools used to have debate, or seems to have.
That's a complicated topic. Part of the issue is with the speech requirements got removed from states back in the mid 2000s. That's a part. That's not the only issue. So we do work with the NSDA and the national associations to try to vote as much as possible. Once the school makes it, not a lot.
I agree with that. The first part, yeah.
The first part?
Yeah.
So so a lot of states in the early mid 2000s, a lot of states removed the requirements of speech programs for their schools. So debate used to meet that requirement. That requirement is part of state law in education. As bars are going to remove from most states, and now is the first step that really decimated speech. I think I got Justin.
So I'll say that I think Jennifer's suggestion here. And the one thing that I would dovetail on that, as people who, top knowledge, none of them are walking into the room, what resolution they're going to start with. I think on the subsidy, as a board committee member, that's so I think for something like the Jennifer process, that's all. I think that creating more structured conversations about the capability of that is to have authors early on commit to which resolution that they want to start with. That way, you've got a longer time for the resolution to get funded to work with the ground, and then maybe we can get a circle part of that. I heard now. But they will be forward. This year, but also.
I was just gonna say, I know you sent out a reflection forum. It'd be nice if you put a survey in there, like, would you like to start early on Friday? Would you like to see increases in the Marshall subcommittee time? Would you like to see less papers presented so we have more time? Before we've had a chance to talk about debatability, but there's so many papers just getting to the wording. And then maybe even Saturday night, would you like to meet for 2 hours and have a round table and go around and talk to the authors about things? There are some things that could happen with you within the same country. So it'd be nice to see just a survey.
Let's go.
I've been coming to these meetings since 1972. I've missed one before the COVID time, and then obviously a couple during COVID. And I would like to say, Dara, the comments are very moving. I had no idea that you were feeling vulnerable because, in fact, you were contributing a lot during the wording committee discussion day. You seemed so confident and involved, and I think did contribute a lot to that process. But I certainly feel guilty as charged in the sense of why didn't we know that you were feeling that way and in fact reach out for a new attendee. But I also want to say this process, really because of James' commitment to it and his predecessors, but James has really kicked it up a big notch. I mean, this, for all of the problems that some of you have pointed out, this process has improved so much over the years. It originally, I mean, going way back, was sponsored by the National University Extension Association, who decided that it was no longer in their interest to do it as of 1985. At that time, there was a decision between, at that time, the National Forensic League and NFHS, who's going to pick this up. Both of them had some involvement through before that time. But NFHS picked it up at that point. And this is a very major financial commitment that James has increased dramatically as he's taken it over. We didn't used to have any food, for example, for delegates. Usually the Friday night time, and I apologize, you know, this year my wife was not feeling well, so I didn't involve myself in that process, but usually the Friday night gathering is the opportunity to get to know people, to kind of interact interpersonally. The biggest problem with any of these topics, especially when we have 13 this year, which is a big number of topics, when you have that many topics, you do need more time. But on the other hand, there are only so many days that you can commit this to. And there's also the conflict between how much interpersonal time and people coming would like to kind of have it part of a vacation, various places around the country that we're moving to, versus we're going to work, you know, 12 hours a day and so on. So there are those conflicts involved, but I think Jennifer had an excellent suggestion. I think the mentorship suggestion is excellent. Anyone who's coming and feeling like you would like to have a mentor working with your paper, James, Kevin could certainly help identify people who have been coming for years that kind of help guide you through the process and hold your hand if necessary. So I think all of those are great suggestions. I would only just say, Sarah, with the experiment that we had necessarily 2 years ago with a total online thing, the problem that I saw in participating with that is it did make it very difficult with the number of different directions that all the discussions went to get in depth on anything. It just seemed like we were continually, you know, getting pulled in many, many different directions rather than really spending very much quality time, you know, going through the topics themselves. So that was kind of my reaction to that. But maybe if, you know, we were online this year, maybe if there could be somebody assigned to picking up questions that need to be asked from people who are out there online and would like to have what level of participation they can have in that process. If somebody's maybe monitoring that and picking up, you know, questions that are especially relevant about different topics, maybe there's a middle way to go on that.
Okay, Stan, over here.
So two things. Outside of topic others, I think those of us that have been here many times could probably do a better job potentially coming to the new attendee meeting and making ourselves known to people, letting ourselves be open to people so we can be there the whole weekend for them. That way, give our experiences to them. I also think with as many people as we have now, and we're going to keep trying to add more papers, we need to look into having more Marshall subcommittees rather than having subcommittees with 3 papers and 4 papers. get back down to 2 per committee, so we have more time on each paper, but also it would take less time. And that could put time in the schedule to talk about debatability on Friday, and even potentially if we're weeding out papers earlier, thanks to that, then more time on Saturday to discuss that too. So I think more martial subcommittees would is more of a fun.
I will say there's a balance. I trust me, we're taking all the feedback. Both making notes, Jay's making notes. I'm assuming that Kyle's listening, he's also making notes, so I have taken notes, but there is a, and we will thoroughly have a breakdown the entire meeting like that. So trust me, I take all your comments, even though I'm not reacting much, I definitely take all your comments to heart. But I will say when it comes to adding subcommittees, adding time, whatnot, there's a critical balance point that has to get there. So for example, if we go to 5, we go to 6, I think Marshall committees, which I'm fine with, that doesn't bother me at all. Good to make sure that we're like, okay, so what happens then all of a sudden if we don't have a paper response to it, right? We started the process this year, we had 18 papers started, and 13 got. Typically, we'll start with 15 to 18, we'll get down to like 9 to 10. And so what happens is we don't have that here to build the structure. We have to do that well in advance, and then the papers have to come through the structure. So I think there's a balance point that we will take into very strict consideration when we start looking at all this. So, just know I very much appreciate it. So I think we have the hand over here, and then there's nothing.
Oh, yeah. So this is actually my first meeting. It's very interesting. Like, I think different feedback on this. But I would and I agree with this. My second one, I was very interested in that the way the communication should work with this kid, because a lot of the issues, not so specific, but a lot of the issues that must be discussed are about so that one is more digitally based, in a lot of like these are like excellent data, but actually that's what it's called. So they bring that perspective like, well, in doing your research or in being around. So like I thought myself like bringing like students, more students, more students, based on that. Additionally, I'm really looking as a topic problem. Supposed to be get as much out there as possible. Take those first use the right response. You want to go based on how fast. Here,
that last statement. I, I do think, with the kind of, all the folks that have kind of discussed debatability resolutions, certainly agree with it. It's a bit of a tricky problem, so I don't think it's solved by more time in the market. The wording, in my opinion, needs to be finalized before we can really interrogate, because once, we discuss debatability and more, then the wording changes so significantly that those discussions are now like no longer relevant in some cases. And so, without the resolution wordings being locked in, it's hard to really get into the needs of debatability. I think that's something to consider. And I certainly agree that more time is really the process. That's a very difficult and human problem, though, because if we just got here and you want in the first 3 hours to look someone who wrote a whole paper in the eye and say, you know what, thanks for coming, but no, but then at the same time, it's not efficient to do what we're doing now.
Anyway, so I think definitely communication, that kind of what the people like, I didn't know so and it came I'm thinking, and so that's kind of our thing for about that's I thought we had today to take on the agenda topic. I didn't know that there was okay. I can even tell you that very happy delegate, and I think that just shows how uninformed the majorities are. Obviously, I'm people myself and a few other students have spoken to, but when we learned about the process, this was so influential in allowing me to understand how to do it. Because I talk about triggers as I'm starting public policy, and I think this is what they wanted us to debate. But now I actually can see it. So we're trying you all on how incredibly we're teaching us and allowing for us to understand the process, because it's inspiring to hear all of you who are all so successful on the college level and then as coaches, and that's just inspiring. It's why we debate, because we want to be able to do that. And I'm not trying to fire you guys up, but again, funding. I was able to come here because right next door. But my coaches have been prevented from attending this meeting. They're probably going to pull you about it. You're presenting people affected by the issues. Because each one is some different health file different. So all you do is remain in office by allowing for people to put their papers to do, or even then just advertising to make sure that it's not just the head. It's not just going to be the higher up just organization, but it's students, it's coaches, it's the everyday people that are actually going to be creating the process. And then the connection made here, like I've met people that I think you can afford all projects. Also, my
I didn't know about that. Like, Dr. Edwards is defining here itself, and then also stand for the Washington president. And, yeah, Washington. But like, I mean, I'm connecting people that like I would never ever have the opportunity to do, but I got to come here and I got here.
Or Cheryl, Josie. All right, I know a lot of things have been brought up, so I was thinking, so some of this is constraint and, you know, how much time you have for the conference, you know, how the sort of love feedback, the people who are doing, you know, we get at home and important messages. The all representing what it is in interest that sometimes you know, like the fact that that was extremely popular, and I just think of it from the way like I think of students in Washington D.C. You know, suburban Maryland and northern Virginia. I think will debate if people who aren't bought into the system, being bought into the activities are here. But how do I go to this charter school and this public school and get new teams, get new coaches? So that is a thing that I think doesn't, like, just a look at the body here, doesn't get accurately or fairly represented. I was thinking like cryptocurrency, I was like, I have a bunch of students who would love to talk about that. But then I recruit coaches that would feel comfortable about cryptocurrency. So I think for it, I think if we have a time in a space where there's a feedback where authors can get from various people, whether they are coming here or not coming here, you know, they can ask a question, they can get some clarity on, and therefore when we get to the room, we have a better understanding of what are people thinking. So we can address those things in either in edits of our paper or just be able to say those things so we get a more inclusive conversation, because like it's clear that, you know, some things mean a lot more to some people than other people, and not actually understand like what, you know, people thinking behind it, and to make sure that people who aren't here are represented, the coaches, students who will be working with us, they can talk to our project. You know, and I will say we have 20 minutes left in the group, so we're out of time, sure.
I just want to say, first time was last year, I loved it, first coach. This year, at least I got thrown on the second coach. So Gara, you can be old like me, and it would still be difficult to figure out what people want out of paper. I think maybe listening to some of the other folks who saying, you need to try to figure out is a way to do a series of virtual meetings, say a month before the actual conference, or even 6 weeks before the actual conference here in person, which would not only allow conversations about the papers that are going to be presented with enough time for perhaps you know, to be made for all patients to be made, but also to widen out the number of voices that could be engaged in this process, because my school district does not fund my participation in this at all. I've got a little bit of lead funding, but I will I'm self-funded, and I can do that as I'm a local retired and children in college. But that's not possible for everybody. And yet, I also struggle with knowing what it is that makes for a topic that people would want to vote for. And people have said nice things about my neighbor, topic, grab everybody's imagination as much as some of the others, and that's all right. But if I write a paper for next year, what am I going to do differently, which will make it more cool? And I don't honestly know. And I think that if there were more time to talk about the substance of the papers and the content of the papers and the wording of resolutions before we get to the, hot stick end of the wording table, which we get to a resolution, that maybe we could be more inclusive in getting other voices, getting student voices, getting voices to and also provide more direction to the people who are writing the papers and to the people who are trying to bring the topics within those papers so that we could have a broader range of voices.
I just have a couple of practical questions. What they said about high school, well, my kids were screaming the entire time. They wanted to know what the product was like. They had no idea that everyone was going to bring. And then being part of the paper, all of that is very eye-opening for them. I do believe that there should be delegates that come. And I think with that, to make it equitable, there needs to be scholarship. I am very for districts. I am also funding myself, and I'm not doing anything. But I think students aren't going to be able, a lot of them would go to delegated. Second thing that practical suggestion is, why don't we, instead of writing the papers and then voting on them, why can't students and coaches just topics they would like to see in advance and then based on we could narrow it down to top 20 or whatever it is, and then it was going to be on those topics. Because what a 40-year-old person is interested in is not the same as what a 14-year-old person is interested in, and vice versa. I mean, it's so like we try to represent to what they're representing, but why not just find out what are your, and it goes like top 20 or something. And to find out what they actually want to be about. So I mean that's I think maybe would make this better because then again Cheryl's point, what are people going to want, right? And it would also make sure that local, urban, rural,
My comments real brief because we didn't work. Number one, we should always put students first. And not our in-person practices first in terms of partnering or actions. I think there's opportunities for the NFHS Student Advisory Committee when they meet this entertaining many of these conversations we're having here today. And I think there's an opportunity for NFHS, along with partnerships with NSCA, is putting out information to the whole community saying, this year is a domestic area. For the upcoming year, at next year's meeting in Fort Worth is going to be international. If you have ideas, please, you want to take on. This is going to be early because you've got some deadlines in December, January. But we need to hear those voices, and some of that can be done way ahead of time because we cycle on the process. I like the comment that had been made earlier about we need to alternate domestic, international, domestic, international. I've had that preference 19 That was when it started. So I hear this form of behavior on college. I had. And many of us are in our ages, how this process works. Instead of you go to the meeting first, and you see the process go down. And now you've got a clearer idea. And I've already admonished some Kansas coaches who live right here in Kansas City, who could easily come to this meeting and stay in their own home at night and come back and forth. What's wrong with that picture? But you've also got to talk to your state individuals like Missouri. You need to talk to the person who represents speech and debate. You have a voice with that individual. I have a voice with my individual right over here. And there are processes within the state organization to make those voices heard. I've said enough. I'll save my comments for later.
I was just gonna say, I'm very interested in this, but I was get my hair. I don't think 8%. That time, a lot of involved, like grammar, very factual, no hostility, so. There was no here. And so as much as there are a lot of problems, just back you're standing up here. Just that. Well, it yeah.
Well, I take all the feedback, positive things, so maybe I'll just shower with more positive stuff. But no, I do take all that feedback, like I said earlier, I take everything everyone said to heart. But I have some yes. We will process all of this, and we'll do it all before we go to the speech advisory. Yeah, Harry is the next.
So I feel like I did it before with my fellow topic paper writers. But I think that a lot of things that the most people probably like the model me where I got to talk to people that are within that process and they're very kind and we're talking through. I'm not an extrovert person. I think only people that in this room knows how funny I am are people sometimes. And so I was wondering if this is a suggestion for a way for us to connect as topic authors, sort of talk about things, share our war stories, or our stress. I know for me, I had to write my paper with a different intention than what it ended up being. And so it's like that whole process and like the feedback I've gotten, I feel like came and talked to me, they're being great. I don't make friends. And so I need to force themselves to be friends with me and we'll have friends. But there's no way for us to connect. We have social media, we have email, and I know that there were emails about like, oh, we're gonna have this new meetings for all the topic authors, and I had of course I had to fix that or something, and so there's like more ways for us to connect as a community.
And I think we have to wrap up here pretty quick.
Sure. I feel like there's been some energy taken from the room.
a bit this last half hour. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that kind of goes towards everyone's commitment here. There were some really good suggestions and some feedback. And I get the sense that everyone kind of cares here. I've been to lots of meetings and I can't say that that's always been the case. I also want to add that I think James and Colton done a great job this weekend. I didn't want to forget that. I know I've been telling you all weekend that I have felt included. This is my first time. I have felt included and I genuinely love the process. Clearly there needs to be work. So I'll end on a question back to you, sir. How can we continue this discussion? Because I feel like everyone here, just to reiterate, everyone here genuinely cares about everything discussed.
So, a couple ways. So, I've tried to make the process as transparent as I can, right? Within the confines of what I got to work. And I believe, I can disagree with me, and that's fine. But I believe it is far more transparent than it was. Yes. 7 years before I started. And that's not throwing shade to anybody. It's just, I run transparent as a but one thing that I think to do to keep everybody engaged in this conversation is, and it's going to sound probably not the right word, but I'm going to use it anyway, just really pay attention, right? Like that's where I get up. If you want, you can go back on our website and you can see loads of information going back 20, 30 years that has all these questions that we have, like how do we do certain things and how we get it. It's all on the website. It is there. However, it's hard material to read. I understand that. There's some things that I've already got processed in my head. Because you know me well, like I'm already thinking the next 17 things we're going to do that's going to be changed. We're going to start doing them next week. It piles us in lives right now. It's like I know what my next month's worth of jobs are going to be on. And so, and Ken, if you're in the live stream, you're going to be included in that too. So, but I'm already processing what we're doing. I can guarantee you, like Jana and Colton and I are going to sit down in our debriefing meeting, and we're going to deep dive a lot of things we're going to have to do. However, no matter what we put out there, if it's not grabbed by the community, it just sits on a website that no one's going to look at. So my plea back is like, when we start getting these processes moving and getting up and running, we need the community to grab those resources and push them out for us. Otherwise, we just made all the stuff and it may or may not have an impact moving forward. When it comes to having the ability to connect sooner, I have no problem saying I'm on Zoom, I don't know, 50 hours a week. So I could add another hour, that's not a problem for me. But what happens is if we don't attend those Zoom meetings, they do not become impactful. And so there is a lot of work that we do need to do, and I fully recognize that. And I guarantee we're going to start tackling a lot of these things, but that has to come with some reciprocal action in the community as well to make sure that we're getting everyone what you need, and then also making sure you're using what we're providing. If there is something wrong, you can email. I am not the best at replying to email, because I get between 300 and 500 emails a day. But I promise that if it's there and it's important, we'll get to reply to it. And if you don't hear from me in a week, say, hey, I'm emailing you again. This is the last email I sent you, and I will do my best to get back to you. But we want to make sure that those communications happen. So by all means, if you're feeling that there's an issue, let me know. Oftentimes I don't know when there's an issue because no one has said anything to me. And my role here is to operate this meeting, right? And to operate the entire process. If I don't know there's an issue coming from an individual or community that no one has told me about, it's really hard for me to fix that. So even though I agree some of the energy is definitely going to take out of the room. However, I also agree that that's not necessarily a bad thing. All this feedback will make this process better. And the only thing we can do is continue to try to improve, make it better, more inclusive for everybody who's at this meeting, making sure that the paper authors feel like they have actually a fair shake of their papers. I think it's a great feedback and comment we have there. And I've been talking to Pam and Ruth, Kevin, we're starting to figure out ways to make a new and emerging authors get better feedback, get a chance to really talk with some veteran people who've been very successful and do that sooner, earlier. one of the issues we've always run into is that July 15 deadlines with the paper. My tenure in the office, we were about 15% on hitting that deadline. So if you guys want that deadline earlier, that number is gonna go from 15% on time to like 4% on time. Right, so I mean, there's a give and takes we gotta figure out, and I agree, if we had more feedback early on, we could do that, but then we have to get those deadlines much earlier, and you have to hit them. And so there's a lot of things that have to go in there, and I understand what happens in June, there's this guy over here that runs this debate tournament, and it takes a lot of people's attention, right? And so it's hard to move stuff into June when you're trying to get ready for the national debate tournament and your kids going, right? So we have a lot of reflection to do, and we have a lot of work to do. But I will guarantee again, we will take all this feedback, and we're going to have some deep, meaningful conversation on what we can really do to make it better. So hopefully you believe me on that, and we'll be able to move forward and really make some great changes to make this process better. I agree. I have a huge passion and love for policy debate, and it is soul crushing that we are losing numbers and maybe losing numbers. So I would also employ this community, go back to your states, have conversations, value and sensitivity you do, and make sure we're bringing it back up. I think that's one thing that happens, because if we keep declining, then eventually this process isn't sustainable. So we need to keep an eye on that. Okay. Did I miss anybody's comments or questions?
I just want to ask a question about the service line solution in terms of either keeping this conversation going or finding ways for authors to I spend like 80% at least for the authors, like an interesting thing to set up where we can talk about April progress, like sound good ideas, and that kind of stuff. And then it could involve you on that, and if you're like, I don't know what this will do. Again, I had
Justin knows.
Eric last year where I barely couldn't get that. But it's just like instant messaging and a bulletin board style chat room all together should go up. And I think it might solve some of those, like, instead of us like, oh yeah, I'm gonna talk to you later, and I forget, send more on Facebook message, like, yup, stuff. Like, it gives us that forum beyond.
There's a professional version of this word called Slack.
That's free.
I'm down to give you an OG.
Like, right, like all comments can be together, that, oh, their page is open, but we don't know, we don't know how people go to that page. Yes, I think it's supposed to be together, but I think we need to talk to the voting delegates, get their idea on like, what is the audience that they're looking for. We don't know. Or I don't know.
All right, great suggestions. I appreciate all the feedback. I truly do appreciate all the feedback. If there's anything else, we have 3 more minutes. We can kind of do anything otherwise. Yes. Airport, anybody? Yes. If anybody wants to share their airport departure times, always good to share rides because then there's more rides for everybody. We all know how that goes. If 60 of us all take our own cars, 40 of us aren't getting a car. So if you want to share rides at the airport, just go ahead and kind of yell out what time you're going. Is everybody going like 2 o'clock? Raise your hand if you're going around 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock. Okay, 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock. 12:30 or 1. Who's leaving like right now? There you go. All right.
Authors in their paragraphs.
Yes, authors, authors, and boarding committee members stay here. Here are the top 5 authors. And boarding committee stay here. Otherwise, everybody, thank you very much. Safe travels. Thank you.
Do we have to relocate or?
My flight just got canceled and rescheduled and it's now earlier.
Oh, great. Give me 1 second. Good
Okay.
job. I gotta get out.
Down for transportation infrastructure.
I think I've already got you on.